Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining us. You are listening to the Totally 90s podcast. And this is one of my favorite sessions,
Ooh,
Fridays with
ooh,
Neen, that you are listening to. I am your host, Justine, and our other amazing, fabulous host. Who are you?
ooh. Hi, this is Jennifer Lopez. I wish. This is Steph. Oh my God. And it's my favorite
Oh,
day too, because I love Fridays with Neen. How
oh,
you doing, Neen?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
I'm doing great because I get two therapy sessions today, one with my therapist and one with my other therapist. That is Neen.
Oh, you're amazing. Likewise. You know, it's so funny when I do those intros, I always get sidetracked, like, because I'm so used to doing like, oh, I'm da, 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 and I'm like, crap. I'm like, hello, Steph. I'm such a dork. Anyways, I always get tongue-tied. I should have a script where I'm like, but then it sounds too scripted.
Well, that and also you're very free flowing. That's like your whole not like it's like your vibe. You're free and you're eloquent. You're most eloquent when you're free, even when you say you get tongue tied. I never catch it. I don't think anyone else does. And anyways, you always end it with a really cute giggle. So
Oh
it's
my
it's
gosh.
very endearing.
I was just gonna say that my giggle.
It's
Uh,
adorable.
Someone at the Starbucks the other day was like, "Oh my gosh, you have the cutest laugh ever." I go, "Oh, thanks." And
Yep.
it's a nervous thing. I've
Ah.
been doing that since I was little. Everybody always says I either go, "Huh,"
Oh, you
or or I laugh. So, but anyways.
This is why you get away with murder with
Oh,
everyone.
oh no.
I'm going to say
Sorry.
it. So, when we were in high school until today, we always joke that if Neen ever commits a crime and I'm with her and she could be holding the murder weapon, I would somehow get blamed because she would just sit there and bat her little lashes, do the little giggle, do the little sigh, and then say, Officer, I was just standing here and all of a sudden, this happened and she forced me to hold the weapon and then I would be
Gosh.
carted off for life.
It's funny when we created the Bitmojis, I should have had like blood on my hands with a
Uh-huh.
knife. That would have been fantastic. But but no, I'm so excited for this. I was like anticipating it all weekend till now. But also, I must say I listened to your session, oh my
Ooh.
gosh, on Friday, and it was amazing. Again, I listened to it and there was things that I guess I didn't pick up when we were talking, and I learned more. I'm like, dang, so fascinating. I just want to say you're amazing.
Oh my God, I absolutely love you. Thank you for that. I had a blast talking with you about that case. I'm excited for all the other cases we're going to talk about
Mhm.
together. I just feel like we have a really good rapport. I actually finally listened to it because I was a little nervous to hear it,
Aw.
but we heard it on the car ride home.
Mhm.
And Angel was like, wow. And she was like, uh-huh. She was like, ah, she would crack up when we would laugh. And so I'm
Uh-huh.
like, okay, good. Cause I didn't pay her to do any of that. Like I should have been
You're so funny.
filming her, for her reactions.
Mhm.
But so I am really proud and I love what we're doing, with here with Fridays with Neen. I just feel like, I'll say it till I'm blue in the face. I feel like you have such a gift and it would be selfish of me to just keep it all to myself. So, and everyone else that you help,
Hmm.
we would
Thank
just be
you.
denying the world. So, this is amazing. Everyone get your chai lattes. Get your favorite cozy blanket, find a fireplace, just snuggle in and enjoy. So,
And get a notepad. Just kidding.
you know what? Get your tape recorder because you
Mhm.
might just put the pen down because you're so riveted and
Mhm.
forget the wisdom that she's about to impart. So we'll give you a
Aw.
second to get your recorder, to get your supplies, to get your chai
Oh,
latte.
I love that.
And Neen, are you ready to rock and roll?
I am. I am so stoked. And I'm
Amazing.
excited that we had some feedback in regards to people writing
Yes.
in.
Yes, yes, we did. And it was hard to pick. So, but I did
Mhm.
pick. a question that we got, and we did get permission to share the first name.
Mm-hmm.
So Tina from Visalia or Visalia.
Mm-hmm.
So don't come for me, but that's in California, I
Yes.
believe. Okay, great. So she wrote in and she's been having some
Hi,
issues.
Tina. Sorry.
What up, T?
Okay.
She's been having some issues with her hubby. So she's been married for about 10 years. They have a 7-year-old son, just one, only child.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the hubby, he's been feeling left out. They've been fighting because of it, and she just basically wants some insight. And I know you have a lot to shed on that because A, you're a mother, B, you're an only
Mm-hmm.
child. Well, you have an older sister, but you were the only child growing up. So
Exactly.
take it away, Neen.
Okay, well, Tina, thank you so much for writing in. And wow, this is like a I want to say it's very common, especially as a mom. You deal with like a lot of mom guilt, and I'm sure
Mm-hmm.
you've heard that. Um, but when it comes to juggling your relationship and then your child, a lot of moms don't know how to handle that. And it could even go both ways. Maybe husbands, because I've heard of husbands where they become very obsessed with their children and they too do the same thing.
Hmm.
And actually someone close to me um was like that in their past, where a husband was just very, and I think it stems to when you don't have a good childhood. Sometimes you want to do everything possible to make um your child's life amazing. And sometimes that means forgetting yourself, forgetting your spouse,
Mm.
and forgetting why you're here in the first place, right? You have these vows when you get married that say, you to honor and all this stuff. And we have to remember the foundation of a marriage is the husband and the wife. And I've always said that without that, your family circle is not going to be whole, you know? And we used that analogy a couple weeks ago in one of our podcasts where it was like, and you said that was in Kara's song that she walked down to, is, it's like a garden. And in order to make sure that the garden survives and thrives, you have to water it and take care of
Yes.
it. And
Mm-hmm.
it's the same exact thing for a marriage or a relationship. And it works both ways, but the husband and the wife they both should be working together to make sure that your child becomes a beautiful, thriving adult, but at the same time, not losing sight of why you're there.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Right.
So, um, for me, I'm just going to share a quick story. So, I was married before, and my stomach just growled.
Dun dun dun.
Oh gosh. Did you hear it?
I did.
Oh goodness gracious. But anyways, so um when I was married before, we had counseling, did you guys do counseling before? You didn't do counseling before you guys got married, huh? No,
Well,
neither
you were
did.
married in the church,
That's
right?
right, and it was
Yeah.
required. So,
Yeah.
so we picked a pastor, and he was actually one of my dad's friends. So when I got married the first time, honestly, I was really immature. I wasn't immature. I just wasn't ready. I thought I was, but I wasn't. And there's a lot of factors that were going into it as to why I now know why I got married. So
Right.
hindsight is 2020.
Mm-hmm.
But this pastor, my ex-husband told him, the pastor goes, can you talk to me and tell me anything that you have a problem with your spouse before going into marriage? And of course, I couldn't really think of anything at that moment, but he had a whole bunch of stuff to say, right? And he tells him, well, the one thing that bothers me is Justine always has to talk to her parents and get their approval for everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay. So the pastor looks at me, he's like, is this true? And I said, yeah, it is, because especially with my dad, I found good counsel in him. So of course I wanted his opinions on things. And now looking back, it's because I didn't really trust the person I was with, because I feel like when you do, you shouldn't have to look for
Mm-hmm.
any other type of advice, right? So he goes, well, let me tell you this. Now that you're older, you're choosing to get married, you feel like you're ready to get married, you should be putting your trust and your faith in the person you're going to be marrying. This is a person you're planning to be with forever. And how is it going to be when you have children? He's like, you have to remember that when you're raising children, you're raising a child just like your parents did, raised you to, be safe, have morals and values, but also to be a successful and responsible adult. That really is your only goal as a parent. And so, if you're choosing to go down this path of marriage, you should be able to break ties with that. Doesn't mean you can ask them, but you should be able to make decisions with your spouse and not have to get a third person influence. So for me, it was like a big light bulb that went off because I was like, wow, I didn't realize I did that. But at the same time, I could understand how it would devalue his voice in our relationship because I didn't look to him for any type of advice, or I didn't trust anything that he ever told me. And so it really made me think differently as time went on. And even in this relationship where I am with Tony, like I went in at full force to where everything and anything he's ever told me, I agree, or we agree to disagree. And I'm sure that is the same way with like you and Kara. Like
Mhm.
you don't go and run and tell your mom or dad and you're like, well, what do you think? Do you think I should do this?
Very true.
You look directly to Kara and you guys decide. And you may then both of you maybe will go to your mom or your dad and be like, or vice versa, and be like, oh, what do you guys think? This is what we're going to do, but this is, we want your advice. But it should always come from your core, your foundation, and that should be your significant other. And a
Mhm.
lot of people don't do that anymore. A
Yeah.
lot of people make their own decisions or they go to their friends first and and then they go to their spouse, or they already have like notions and ideas in their head of how it's going to play out before they've even had the conversation.
Right.
So when it comes to kids, it's hard because, a lot of times, I mean, for me, there was a thing with Presley when I first had her. And the only time I ever experienced that was when I had my car accident. And it was your life is one way 1 minute, and the next minute it's completely different. So the minute I had Presley, I went from being independent, only worrying about myself, to now worrying about this little human being. And it's very overwhelming for a lot of people. And I think a lot of women don't know how to manage that to where all of your focus goes into your child and you forget about yourself and you forget about your spouse. So, like in
Right.
Tina's case,
Yeah.
her boy is 7 years old
7. Mhm.
and her husband's like,
Remember
hello,
me? I helped
what
you
up?
create that.
Exactly. And that reminds me of the saying that I said last time we talked with my dad.
Yes.
And my dad straight up said, and of course it was biblical, but
Oh,
you know, he was like, well, in the Bible, it says that your spouse should always come first before your children. And of course, being like a 10-year-old that I was like, how rude, you know?
oh,
I mean,
you were
because
10 when he said that to
hmm
you.
okay, so like think of it this way. So your mom,
Yeah.
growing up, did your mom put you first or did she put your dad first? Or did you ever see any type of like separation? Or was it a different type of love between
It was different. Like, I didn't feel like the center. I mean, I was the only child.
Mhm,
And I didn't feel different. Like, I know my dad, I feel like he put me on such a high pedestal, like it was obvious.
mhm,
My mom was like, that's my husband and this is my daughter. And she
mhm,
is of the same, I know she's of the same belief as you when it comes
mhm,
to that, which when you said that to me, that your dad said that to you, all those years ago, it was like, Wow, that is so true because it, when the kids bounce,
Mhm.
what your spouse is like, now it's my turn.
Mhm.
Really? How are they not resentful? So yeah, I didn't really see
Exactly.
that separation with my mom. It was
So I have
like
a
I'm
question though. So because your dad was very overprotective of you and very protective.
very
So do you think that your dad sometimes put a lot of focus onto you to
yes.
maybe he forgot about your mom?
I could
Or
see that. Yeah. But he also was very much like protective of my
Mhm.
mom, but like I was the star of his eyes. Like I
Mhm.
was the apple of his eye, I should say. You
Yeah.
know, if he was busy or whatever, I would come in. It doesn't matter what he was doing. Like, Dad, it's father-daughter day. He would
Mhm.
drop what he was doing and he would take me out to eat lunch. We'd go to the movies, we'd hit Toys R Us. It was, oh God, oh, I love my
Mhm.
dad. So like, you know, I was his world.
Mhm.
Like, and
Exactly.
I loved it. I still do, but now hearing this, it's like,
Mhm.
oh, that
And I
is
wonder,
true.
that would be actually an interesting question to ask your mom if at any point she felt like there was a shift in their relationship with the
After
way
I
that
was,
he was with you.
yeah,
Not in a
I'm gonna
bad
ask.
way. I mean, and it's possible. I mean, your mom could, I could see your mom being like, maybe, but I enjoy, a mom should love the way their spouse loves their child, you know?
Yeah.
But some women get a little bit
Mm.
resentful, or men,
Ooh.
big
Uh,
time.
or sometimes you're an outsider and you're like, how are you still married? Like, you
Exactly.
know, some people
Mhm.
have like this thing with their kid and
Mhm.
I
Oh, they
don't
do.
know.
So, like, the perfect example would be, for me, when I had Presley, I didn't no, I worked. I worked from 6 months on. I worked all the time, until she was in 1st grade, and that's when Tony was like, "Okay, I'm gonna give you the option. You could still work if you want." But I think because we've missed so much time because we were commuting a lot, he was like, "I want you to just immerse yourself in her life and make up for that lost time, especially because we were barely there for kindergarten. Like my mom and dad were the ones that were taking her to school, doing all the other stuff. And every that now and then, of course, we did our parent teacher conferences, but we were not really there. And so Tony gave me that option. He's like, if you want, you could stay at home. We could do it. And this way you could really be there 100% for her. And it's been such a blessing. But for me, right after she was born, I was a single mom 6 months
Mhm.
after she was born. So I was working 2 jobs, going from one to the other, not getting home sometimes until like 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
So for me, my whole goal, of course, was just to take care of her, you know, physically, but financially too, because to
Yeah.
give her everything that she wanted, right? And she was my only kid. So of course that's what I wanted to do. As you get older and you realize, okay, I could give her everything I want, but also she needs me physically, you know?
Yeah.
But also at the same time, having Tony in my life really helped her, I think, in her growth and
Mhm.
me too, and made me realize she really like flourished when she saw that I was happy and that we were happy as a couple. And I think that a lot of times you see moms that once they have their babies, they kind of get stuck in a rut.
Mhm.
I've known people where they are constantly in leggings and sweatpants until the kid is like 5 years old and they have no oomph to go out. The sex door is probably closed with their husband, right? Because they put all their focus on the kid, especially if the kid's sleeping in the same bed. A lot
Oh,
of
for
moms do
the
that.
love. I never did that. Like, oh
Mhm.
no. And I wouldn't like beg either. I would be in my bed, like, deal with
Mhm.
it. This is my bed. This is my
Right.
bedroom. You know what I mean? I'm
Exactly.
sorry. I don't have human children. So I feel like I can't comment and I try
Mhm.
not to. I'll just comment to Angel.
Well, no, and
Um,
I mean,
but
you have
damn.
your right to comment too. I mean, everybody has their own stance on it. Because if you had kids, and honestly, the thing is that once you have kids, you may have all these things, and then it goes right out the door. And
So
like your puppies, you may
okay.
say, "Oh, they're never going to sleep in our bed."
are you kidding me? Neen, can I please confess something to you while we're talking? You already know this. There's a reason I don't have kids. I would
Mhm.
be that mother. I would be, especially if I had a son. Are you kidding
Mhm.
me? That
Right.
little boy, no woman would ever be good enough for them. Like I mean, I probably not to that extreme. I wouldn't want to be one of those mother-in-laws, but like I would just, my whole life would be around that little
Yeah.
baby, and I would probably lose my identity. My relationship would be out the window. When so when I got Roni, he was my very first dog ever. And so I didn't know what I
Mhm.
was doing. He was my baby. My ex got him for me, and that
Mhm.
was the one of the greatest gifts I'll ever get.
Mhm.
And he was the cause of arguments because
Yeah.
she was feeling resentful towards the puppy. In
Wow.
hindsight, I understand now,
Mhm.
but like I understand. I totally get it. Now
Mhm.
I'm with my wife and she loves our puppies and everything, but I'm aware of what I did. And
Yeah.
so I try really hard to
Mhm.
pay attention to that. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, and I, again, I know I'm talking about my dogs, but like I could see how I would lose myself
Mhm.
10 times over if it was a human child. So
Of course.
I
And
get it.
yeah, see, and it's normal to have all these, like, when you're pregnant and you think, okay, I'm going to have a kid, like you think of all these things that you're not going to do. You see
Mm,
parents when they're a certain way and you're like, oh, I am never going to be that mom.
yeah.
Hell no.
Mm-hmm.
And then you become that mom.
Uh-huh.
Or it's like, oh, I'm never going to be like my mom and
Uh-huh.
things that she did. And
Oh,
I see myself doing the same things, you know?
see, I wish I could say that I could be like my mom, because my mom, oh my God, she's, yeah, but
Yeah,
I
she's
wouldn't be able
amazing.
to. But can I ask you a question? I'm sorry
Mhm.
if I'm interrupting. I
No,
just want to
not at
ask this
all.
one question because you're one of the greatest moms I've ever known. And I feel
Thank
like
you.
a lot of it has to do with your attitude towards parenting and all that. I feel like, Pretzel's one of the most well-behaved kids. Like I actually love
Mm.
hanging out with her, and I don't tend to like hanging out with kids.
Mhm.
So but Pretzel is different. She's well behaved, she's never sticky, she smells great, she's
Mhm.
artistic, she's sweet and loving, and she busies
Aw.
herself. You know what I mean? So that
Yeah.
all has to do with you. You're like, this is a conversation for adults since she
Mhm.
was this big. And so she
Yes.
doesn't be like, hi, I'm going to stand here and twirl in a circle and you guys all have to watch.
Ugh.
I can't stand
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I can't
See.
stand that. Oh, so I want to know how you were able to be a stay-at-home mom and not lose yourself in your kid. How
Hmm.
did you do that? I that's golden.
Because I think that I have never, and I repeat, never wanted to be that kind of mom. And there's nothing wrong with that kind of mom that wants to be their kids' everything. Because I think honestly, there could be a million handbooks, okay, on how to be a mom. And every motherhood journey is different. And whatever works for each mom works for each mom. I'm not here to say that if your kid sleeps with you that it's wrong, but you have to find the fine line
Right.
on making time for your spouse, because the
Yes.
bedroom is a sacred place. And hell, if you're not getting good sleep, how are you in the morning? What kind of person are you? Like a lot of people need, you need that time. And I'm sorry, there's no way to sleep with a child, whether they be one or whether they be 10,
Mhm.
comfortably. It's impossible.
Yeah.
But I understand, there's other options. Then maybe put a bed in the room with them, a twin bed, okay, to where you could show them that they could still be independent, but we're right here if you need them. So this way you still have an area that's just yours, because they need to
Right.
learn too that
Yeah.
mommy and daddy need their own space,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And I feel like for me, being a stay-at-home mom was just like a perk for Presley and I. Like it
Mhm.
was time for us to at that time it was actually the pandemic, so it was a blessing. I was able to help her, with Zoom and teach her, and it was just such a great and awesome experience that I had with her, and we both appreciated it because I wasn't home before then. So
Oh.
it was like a bonus for us. And honestly though, from day one, from the time she was like 3 months, not even, maybe a couple months. Remember that time when we went to Joe's after I had just had Presley, and you, and I believe it was you, Asu, and Jesse had taken me out for my birthday.
Mm-hmm.
And her dad, okay, at the time, um, got mad at me for going out and told me what kind of mother leaves their 2-month old so they could go have dinner with their friends. And that, honestly, that was probably one of the best things he could have ever done for me. Because at that point, I was like, no man is ever going to tell me
Mm-hmm.
that, for one, what to do, and two, tell me that I'm a bad mom because I choose me every now and then. It wasn't constant. I wasn't going out every freaking day,
Right.
you know? I mean, a man that has the audacity to say those type of things, honestly, they have no clue. And honestly, that's why I left his ass. But, you know,
LOL.
the thing is that it's just, what's right for you when you're a mom. And for me, and it all goes back to that saying of what my dad said. The thing for me is that I can't be a good mom if I'm not happy. If I'm not doing things for myself, if I'm not making time for myself, I can't be a good mom. If I'm not making time for Tony and uh, I'm gonna something's gonna lack in our relationship where things are gonna either, the last thing I would want, and I'm not saying that that's an excuse, but I'm saying that sometimes women or men put so much focus on their child that they forget that your husband or your wife need attention too. And tell me, I mean, when your parents were arguing, were you happy?
So my parents, I'll never like, this is something that I treasure. They rarely fought in front of me. So, because if they raised their voice or anything towards each other, I would freak out and sob. So,
Mm-hmm.
like, it was a rare thing. If they were going to
Mm-hmm.
have any kind of discussion, they would wait until I was at school or something. So, I will forever be
Amazing.
thankful for that. So, don't, yeah, thank God for that.
Well, and the thing for me is like, and it's true because even if Tony and I have a disagreement, and we try not to do that in front of Presley, but I also think it's important and it's healthy to teach a child that having a disagreement or an argument with your husband or spouse is important to show them, because you also show them how that's life and that's what happens. And this is how we make up,
I
right? I think
agree with
it's
you because
very important.
yeah, no, and when my parents told me they were going to divorce, it blindsided me.
Hmm.
So I do agree with you
Hmm.
that
And I agree with that too. I agree with myself only because I have some family that thought the same thing. They never argued in front of their kids, ever. And then all of a sudden, one day, they decided they were separating. They were going to take some time apart. And it ruined them. They were like, oh my gosh, but you guys never argued. Everything was fine. Like, they could not get over that. And I was just like, huh? I mean, for me, my parents used to argue all the time, but healthy arguing, right?
right.
But I also learned, oh, okay, everything was great then after they made up and they were able to do that. And that showed me, wow, how functional they were and how healthy it was. Because I mean, when you're living with people, two people, it's only normal to get in each other's hair or little things bother you left and right about little things, right? And maybe you do have a disagreement over the bills or the dishes, whatever it is. But there's something sweet about that reconciliation part. That's why
Yeah.
people made freaking songs about making up to, was it breaking up to
Makeup,
making up?
break up to makeup.
you know?
Yeah.
because there is a sweet spot about that. And it's, to me, for me, it's healthy to teach your children that.
Yeah. No, you've definitely got a point. Sorry, I'm just reminiscing back on all that. And
Hmm.
yeah, yeah, I would
And
have.
I mean, but a lot of parents do that. A lot of parents
Yeah.
think that shielding their kids from that is the best thing. And yes, of course, if it's a big ass fight, you don't want to be showing, Katie Joy.
God, because at the same time, it's like if you're constantly fighting and berating each other in front of especially
Right.
little kids,
Of course.
that's unforgivable because that
Hmm.
stays with them. That scar. How does it not scar them?
Hmm.
If I'm over here dealing in therapy with my childhood was amazing.
Hmm.
But like my parents split really affected me.
Oh, of
So like,
course.
and they didn't like berate or talk down to in front, of me or anything, or I don't even know if they did that when they were arguing, but like to do that in front of little kids,
Yeah. No.
uh-uh,
And it's
uh-uh.
it's not okay because and that's the thing too is we have to decipher what is okay to show or do in front of your kids too because those are all learned behaviors.
Yep.
It infuriates me when you go to Target or whatever and you see that one mom that is yelling at their kid
Oh,
like they're a 20-year-old. And I'm like, who does that?
or
You
on the
know?
same token, you have a kid screeching for the entire duration of their Target visit because they didn't get a toy. And the mom's just like
Yeah, no. And
blankly looking out there, like,
mhm. Oh, yeah, and it doesn't even phase them. It's like in a restaurant when your kid's
yeah.
screaming at the top of their lungs
Oh,
and they don't even, "Oh, calm down, Johnny. Calm down. It's okay." And then they start talking and they're just still screaming. And you're like, "Don't you hear that?" And yes, as a mom, you do get desensitized to sounds because I did. Of course, Presley barely ever screamed or anything, but being around other kids too, you do get desensitized to that. And some kids are just it's their way of getting attention. They want attention, but feel their attention in other ways. Because it is very annoying. It is annoying to hear. And please, parents, don't bring your kids to movies. I just have
thank
to put that
you.
out there.
Or
Why do
restaurants,
Yes.
if they're
Yeah.
gonna be
No, I
allowed.
will say this, and I know a lot of people don't believe in this, but my mom and dad, I was never allowed to go to a restaurant, and I was a good ass kid. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But I was never allowed to go to a restaurant until I was 7 years old.
Mm,
7 years old was the
same.
first time I was allowed to go to a restaurant, and my parents
Exactly.
made it such a big ordeal. They took me to the Gold Mirror, and
Oh.
I got all dressed up, and I was so
Oh.
excited because it was like this a privilege to go out
Yeah,
because you're going to be around other
exactly.
people, right?
Exactly.
And my parents
Sorry.
were like, "No, you're not going to act a fool, or
Exactly. What
clicking and
happened to
clacking
those
your
days?
forks on the
I feel
plates."
like, yes, parents of the 80s
Mhm.
and 90s had
Yes.
there. Can we go back to that? Because
Yeah.
I wasn't allowed to determine what I was going to eat for dinner. Then you don't eat.
No.
What is that?
Exactly.
What
Yes.
is that? Why do we all have to have peanut butter and jelly because little Sally, that's the only thing she'll eat? Bye.
No, I agree. And that's another thing like and I'm not saying I'm the most perfect parent because I'm not. But for me, I don't put parameters on Presley as far as like some I remember going to my dad's friend's house and I didn't eat his vegetables, right? And
Mhm.
his friend got mad at me and my dad of course got pissed and we left. And we never went back. My dad never talked to his friend after that. But a
Aw.
lot of parents believe that no, you're going to eat, or you're going to eat what I make you, right? And
Mhm.
you can't get up off the chair until you finish.
Mhm.
Or you have other parents that make like they have 3 kids and they make 4 different meals.
Oh, what is that? I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I'm judging again. Oh God.
And I'm like, why would you do that? Because you're teaching your child. So there's this thing where I was reading up and they were talking about um what was it? What is the role of a parent,
Mhm.
right? And what happens when you put your child first?
Mhm.
Okay? Like, okay, what do you think it is, Steph? Like when I
Mhm.
say, how do you feel? Or if you were a parent,
Yeah.
what do you think would happen to that child? Or what would the child think if you constantly put them first?
That they're going to get whatever they want at any given point in time.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Exactly. And to me, it's kind of like common sense, right? I mean,
Duh.
it what it does is it throws off the balance of authority in the household. and in
Yes,
general. I mean, I don't know if people understand that, but I mean, to me, it's like, common sense. But a
exactly.
lot of people and a lot of parents do that. And when you put your child first, you establish a pattern of putting them first all the time.
Ay.
So they become the leader of the pack versus and we become the followers of our kids. Okay. End up tending to all their needs
Oh
and
my God.
completely forget about our own
Uh-uh.
and our husbands.
They're
Okay.
just flailing about.
Yes. And our family's needs as a whole because we're trying to accommodate little Marky Mark.
Hmm.
And Marky Mark's a brat.
That's another thing. They get everything they want. And like they don't even appreciate,
Mhm. No,
right? And then
no,
they
they
just act a
don't.
fool all the time. I don't
Exactly.
understand why you would reward that behavior. What?
Yes. And that's the
Does
thing
Mark
is,
pay rent?
okay, because I'm sorry, you're going to end up with a little brat
Mm.
that
Nobody
dictates
wants to be around.
exactly, and they dictate your every move. And they set the tone for your way of life
Right.
completely. And once you establish that, it's very hard to get that back. It's very hard to change it. I mean, I think I think you see a lot of times, like in Latin families, the moms are very over affectionate and loving, and they put a lot of themselves into their children. And
Especially their
that's
sons.
exactly, I was just going to say, especially their boys. And
Mm.
with Tina, I could see that's probably maybe the case. Not saying that, I don't know if she's Latin or not, but you put so much, especially moms sometimes with boys,
Oh yeah.
there's this connection, right? And I think that sometimes we think about it. You have a newborn baby, whether it's a boy or girl, and before this baby, your husband was your everything. You even
Mm-hmm.
dropped your friends for this guy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You didn't
As
hang
some
out
women
with
do.
them. Okay.
Yep.
Because this guy is the best thing since, wheat bread, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now you guys went on vacations or you took nice rendezvous here and there, a weekend getaway, right? Those exciting, passionate nights that you would have. And then all of a sudden, Marky Mark comes, okay, and it all is just like the brakes just halt everything.
Oh my
So all of a
God.
sudden your husband's like, hello, like, okay,
Is it
honey,
me you're looking for?
okay. Lionel knew what he was talking about.
I
Okay. The thing
know.
is that your husband still needs that affection and that love and care that he had before. Should it change because you've had a child? To me, it should actually become more beautiful, more of a necessity once you have a child.
You would think you would want to be like a united front,
Yes.
because there's also like this whole good cop, bad cop
Mhm.
dynamics that you see portrayed in TV shows. Like I'm thinking about Modern Family. Um, how do you feel about that? Like, or should you just be a united front? Like, why does dad always have to be the softie and the mom
Right.
has to be like cast as like the bad cop,
Mhm. Oh,
In this
yeah. I
case, it
mean,
doesn't sound like that, but
no, but I think that a lot of times there's always, doesn't matter. There's always gonna be a good cop and a bad cop. For me, I know I'm probably the bad cop because I'm always the authoritarian with Presley, where I'm always telling her, don't do this, don't do that. But you know what? That's okay. You don't have to like me, you know?
but
But
you have to respect me.
exactly.
And she
Yes.
does.
Completely. And those are things like, that's one thing about like kids nowadays. I don't understand why parents like manners. Like that
Mm.
was one of the reasons why I wasn't allowed to go to dinners because I wasn't, I was still learning my manners. My mom was still saying, say thank you, say please, like embedded
Yeah.
in me.
Oh my God. I know
Parents
of
don't do that
older,
anymore.
yeah, I know of older kids who have to be told to say
Yes.
thank you or say hello or say how are you or anything.
Yes. And
Yeah.
what? That is to me, it is so sad. It really is because to me that is a reflection on the parents, not on the kid.
Oh
Even
yeah.
if you're older because that is something that was ingrained in us to do.
out the womb.
And
Oh my
if I
God. I was
didn't, I would get slapped.
Girl, that's the problem. That
Hmm.
not none of that's happening. There's no like
Yes.
discipline. I'm not saying you have to beat the hell out of your kid, but
No.
try the word no every now and then and ground the kid if
Hmm.
he's being disrespectful to you. What happened to all that? I don't see that
Right.
happening. I don't hear the word grounded anymore. Do you?
No, I've tried to ground Presley and it doesn't work.
Do you know that when I was little, I asked my mom to ground me because I had never been grounded, and so she wouldn't because I didn't do anything bad. I was a good kid because my
Uh-huh.
parents like if I tried to act out, my mother would give me the eye, and so you don't want to mess with the eye. But I would go to my room and read my books because I was grounded.
Aw. And you're like,
And
this is
like,
great.
yeah, I love my room. And like, but the thing is, it's like that my mom, all she had to do was look at me a certain
Hmm.
way. What
Yes.
happened to that?
Hmm.
Tell
Yeah.
me.
The thing is that society nowadays
Oh,
is
oh.
very, very sensitive, and we all get caught up in other people's business, right? And unfortunately, everybody's afraid of rocking the boat or saying things to their children because that's not the right thing to do. Well, I mean, honestly,
Mm-hmm.
what you just said about um, looking at your kid,
Uh-huh.
I have taught that to Presley to where it's like, I'm looking at you and she already knows, uh-oh, I'm in trouble. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how it should be. Because if we're in a store, if we're in a restaurant, if we're wherever, damn straight, I'm going to look at you. And
Oh
if you're acting a
yeah.
fool, you best believe we're going to have that talk when we get in the car.
Oh God, the talk. Oh my God.
Especially because the thing is that they're getting older. And these are things that you have to put in your children and instill in them as they're young. And if
Mm-hmm.
you don't, you're going to end up, you're going to end up with a freaking teenager that is not going to listen to you, is going to say, well, you gave me everything all the time. And now you're going to try and tell me this and that. No. Okay.
And
Cause
the
I will
way they
lock
get
your ass in
punished.
the closet.
Right. Exactly. And leave them there for 2 days. Like the thing is like
Yes.
the way people discipline their kids now, if we're gonna use the word discipline loosely like this, they'll just take away their phone and then give it
Yeah.
back to
No,
them 2 hours later. Like, really? What's
no.
that doing?
See, and Presley's been asking a phone for like about a year. And
Oh,
the answer is no. She will
hell
not get
no.
a phone. Yes, hell no. She will not get a phone until she's either driving
Mm,
or she's 18.
okay.
So the thing is like if she gets a phone, it's going to be a jitterbug and it's going to be one that she can only call me on.
Oh, is that what it's called?
Jitterbug is for old people
Oh,
that it's like the really big ones, but it's basically just a dial phone to where it calls and makes calls and receives them. That's it.
so can I ask you why 18 or when she drives? Because um so for example, my parents got me a pager I think when I was in 7th or 8th grade,
Mhm.
just so that if I got beeped, I had to find a payphone
Mhm.
magically within 2 minutes and
Mhm.
report in. So like if Pretzel is like, well, she's not old enough yet, but like if she goes to the mall, for example, when she's
Mhm.
13, like me
Mhm.
and Annie would go to the mall when we were 12 or 11 and we'd be dropped off. I didn't have a pager back then, but we'd be dropped off and in 2 hours we picked up. So like
Mhm.
when I had the pager, they always knew where I was, but they would still page me.
Mhm.
So like if Pretzel goes to the mall or something, or if she goes to a friend's house, you're
Mhm.
thinking like if I need to get a hold of her, I can call the friend's parent
Mhm.
and her ass better be there.
Mhm.
But what
Yeah.
if she's at the mall?
And
Like,
that's
well,
why like if I get her a phone earlier than that, it'll just be just for calling or texting. And there
mhm.
are phones out there. I don't know if it's a phone or a watch. I can't remember the name of it. Where you're only allowed up to 6 contacts,
Oh,
and
good.
it's a way for, and it's a GPS, so you know where they are. But
Great.
they can call, so it would be me, my mom, Tony, and that's it.
Mhm.
We could call them and she could call us, and that's it. But
Okay.
I personally don't want Presley on social media. I don't want her to have anything where she can not even social media, just the internet in general. girlfriend,
Yeah.
anybody can Google Pornhub or what I don't know any other ones, but you know what I mean? And be exposed to that somewhere else. And I know like for me, my job is to protect her from what I know and what I know she could get her hands on. You know, I can't control what other kids could do. So I just need to, whatever I give her access to, I need to monitor. And of course, when she goes out with her friends in the future, whenever that is, she will have something where I can contact her because I don't want to have to be nowadays, I don't want to have to be contacting the parent all the time because, you know, I'd rather be able to talk to her personally. But there are devices, thank God, nowadays where you can do that. But I want her to know and I want her to focus on school. I want her to focus on like extracurricular activities versus
Yeah.
all the other stuff that's out there. And
And
because I just think that there's just too much bullying, too much
I
grossness that's
agree.
out there. And the sooner you expose them to that, it's hard to get them off of that.
Yeah, I totally agree with you in that sense. Social media, the internet has gotten way out of control. I'm thankful that we grew up when we did because,
Mm-hmm.
you know, the bullying, the freaking predators that are online, we didn't have to worry about that as
No,
much
we didn't.
back then. So I'll totally commend you. And I also commend Pretzel because she's very respectful. Any other kid would be like, well, my friend has it. Why
Mm-hmm.
can't I? And would not let it go. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And the fact that she's like understands and is abiding by your decision is huge. Like, I don't
Mm-hmm.
know, you know, Tina, you know, 7-year-old boy, so she's got some time to
Mm-hmm.
worry about that. But like, I want to commend you on that decision because I think it's wise. It's just getting worse with each passing year. So
It
yeah.
is. And I think too, like, if you give your kids too much too quick,
Yeah.
and that's not just social media or like an iPad, because a lot of kids have iPads, and Presley has an iPad. But you know, make them earn things.
Work for it.
Yeah, you know, Presley. So in school, they didn't have this in our day, but in schools now they have like a clip system. So basically, the clip monitors their you know, their performance, how they are, like if they're in good behavior, if they're not. So your goal is to clip up, right?
Oh, they still
So
do that. I remember you talking about this. Like, okay, that's cute.
so she still has it. So I actually brought that home and I made our own kind of guide for her day. So Presley's good. And I think that's another thing, like for me, Tony actually taught me that I'm not disciplined with schedules. I'm not disciplined with anything like that. Like for me, organized chaos is how I roll, right? Whereas with Tony, he's very like orderly. And I think that he's always been like that, but him being in the military too really like solidified it. And
Yeah.
he's really shown Presley how important it is to be disciplined and have, okay, this is how it's going to be. I make her a schedule the beginning of every year. It's like, this is your day. You wake up all the way to her going to bed. And, you know, after a while, she doesn't have to like check things off, but until she's used to it. But it's like the minute you get home, your homework's done, you put your stuff away, you take a shower. And then from then on, if you finish everything you're supposed to, which also includes she takes French, she does her French classes, and she reads for an hour. So as long as those are done, then she has free reign to do whatever she wants as far as she wants to go on her iPad. But if she doesn't finish those things, then she doesn't get it.
Mm.
So there's a goal at the end. Like, heck, if I, you know, for us, it would be watching television. You know, like Presley doesn't have any television shows that she watches because she doesn't watch television. She watches Friends, you know, but it's a couple things here and there. For us, it was like, oh my gosh, TGIF or Nick at Night or whatever it was. You know, I mean, for us, it was completely different. But for her, kids love structure.
Yeah.
They really
Yeah.
do. And, you know, when you don't give your kids structure, for me, I feel like it makes it harder for yourself. Making a bedtime. I find it's crazy when parents don't have bedtimes for their
Mm,
kids, because they need that.
makes my
They
eye
need to
twitch.
know, like, okay, 8 o'clock, I need to start getting ready for bed, slow it down, and make it a reasonable time. So this way you have time for your spouse. This way
Yeah.
you have a chunk of time after they go to sleep where you guys can just watch a show, talk, have a glass of wine, whatever it may be. Because
Right.
you miss that, and make time for yourselves. It's okay. Have a babysitter.
Yeah,
Like,
it's quite all right.
yes, I just don't understand how, for me, I have been blessed with the fact that my mom lives with us. Like, we have my mom. And if I didn't have my mom, I would more, the minute I had Presley, I would be looking for someone that wasn't a nanny. I mean, obviously, if you could afford it, go for it. But a babysitter that you can trust along the way, because you're going to need someone when you have a party. Okay.
Yes.
Because if you don't, if this is okay, I'm just going to put this out here because it's a pet peeve of
Please
mine.
do. Please do. Please say it.
It's a pet peeve of mine. Do not get
Oh.
pissed off if
Ooh.
someone, okay, if someone says no kids allowed. Excuse me? Um like, I don't even know what to say. Like, it irritates me to no end that people get pissed off when people ask people of that.
Oh my God.
Okay? Because the thing is that you have children, and you should have someone, if you want to go somewhere, okay, you should have someone that could watch your kids if you don't have anybody available. That is something that you should have been creating since the minute you decided you're going to have a kid. Okay,
Hmm.
what about childcare? Okay, how are we going to deal with this if we have a party to go to or whatever it may be?
No, because people just
What if there's an
assume,
emergency?
but people just assume that everywhere is a place for kids to be
No,
at.
and there's not, because I'm sorry, there's many, many, many weddings that I have been to where they don't allow kids. And quite frankly, who the frick wants screamy kids? I
Girl.
I'm sorry, and it's not even about the screamy kids also. It's the fact that mom and dads deserve to go to a party, dance, have fun, drink, live it up without having to worry about Jack and Jill.
Hmm. And also their focus isn't even going to be on like the party. It's going to be
No.
on their kids.
And yeah, and
Or the complete opposite. I remember I threw a party for Angel for her birthday a couple
mhm.
years ago, and I didn't specify no kids. And of course, kids arrived, and the parents were like, "Here, this is my glass of wine," drinking away, and I'm like, like, what? Why are you touching my stuff? Why are you putting
Yes.
middle fingers on my things?
Yeah,
Like,
no.
why am I watching your kid? Like,
Yes, because that's
what's the
usually what
one?
happens. And then the thing is Jack's over there throwing stuff. Uh-oh, he broke something. No,
Oh my
that is
God, my
so
blood pressure
rude.
just went up. No, and like seriously, so like you're my best friend. You were officiating our wedding. You didn't even once ask to bring pretzel to the wedding. Like I love
No,
you.
I would
Like,
never. And the thing is even if you didn't have that on your invitation,
mhm.
I still wouldn't have brought her.
Thank
Because
you.
to me, there's a time and a place for children.
Yes, and it's at Chuck E. Cheese.
And the thing and the thing is even if it's not a wedding, I always ask, is it okay if I bring Presley? Is
Yes.
it okay if I bring
You always do. Yeah. Yeah.
okay? It to me it's just common courtesy.
Exactly. Exactly. I don't understand why people get offended. I don't.
And don't ask, well, is it okay if I bring them? They're not going to eat. They'll just eat off
Ugh.
my plate.
Have you ever been asked that? Oh my Lanta.
I haven't been asked that, but I've had family members that have asked that. It's okay, they're not going to
Oh,
eat. It's not about the freaking food, Harriet. It's the fact that we don't want children. We want this to be
period.
an adults only party.
But isn't it crazy that people have to declare that it's an adults only anything to begin with? If it's a party, if it's at night, if there's alcohol,
I- yeah, why would you want your kids around that type of to me? a lot of times, like I know maybe people, there's always those judgy people that are like, oh, she never brings her kid places. And I bring Presley when it's okay to bring her, when I feel it's acceptable. But I'm
Right.
telling you, one time, okay, Tony and I went to a Super Bowl party and we brought Presley, and because they said we could bring her. And I literally called my mom within an hour and was like, you need to come and pick her up, because I don't want Presley around other people drinking, because I don't know how they get. I don't need her around those types of environments. She's still little.
Yeah, I agree.
And the thing is like, why would you want your kids to be exposed? You know how you get when you drink, but you don't know how other people get.
Fights.
I don't need my kid exposed to that kind of stuff.
No. Oh my God, Neen, it's so true. And also, like, okay, so there are places, I'm just joking about Chuck E. Cheese, but like family home parties.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I went to plenty of those growing up because
Mm-hmm.
also I was well behaved.
Of
I never
course.
threw fits when I
Mm-hmm.
was told it's time to go home.
Thank
Why do
you.
people do like, and then the adults are standing around the child throwing a fit like this?
Okay.
I've seen that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And,
Or they just leave them.
ugh, like,
Mhm.
can they stay over? What? So,
No.
anyways, that was never me. I was always like, Halo, okay, mommy. Or if
Hmm.
I got tired, there was always the designated room for kids to sleep. There was always be a sleeping child on a random bed.
Oh, I
So
love
that's
it.
one thing. But like a funeral, maybe not so much. Or an
Mhm.
adult where it's a party where there's gonna be drinking and the person specifies that it's adults only, because there's plenty of house parties where there's hella beer, Latino parties growing up,
Mhm.
there's always fights, there's always
Yes.
live music. I have great memories. Yes, there were fights breaking out at our
Mhm.
house parties. My dad
Yeah.
was never involved, thank God, but like I saw that, Annie saw
Mhm.
that, but we're not traumatized, but I can see why you would not want pretzel around that. So I don't understand, like, the offended part. It's like, okay, I'm not saying, your kid sucks. I'm just saying this is what I want. And don't
Mhm.
you want to break? Don't you want to get hyphy with a drink or two?
Yes,
Don't you
exactly.
want to twerk a little bit? Like, it's okay.
Twerk.
Polly
Yes.
will be fine.
Mhm.
Paul is actually Paul doesn't want to be at the party.
No.
Paul does not want to sit and watch a 3-hour long funeral. He wants to be
Thank
at home
you.
playing video games with his friends. He don't care.
Mhm.
End of
No.
story. Oh, I'm sorry. My blood pressure is high.
You're like, we went on a
Oh,
tangent.
sorry.
No, but it is because, and I'm
Whew.
sorry if you're gonna get offended like that, then just don't come. If it
Great.
offends you that much, then I don't need your sourpuss face it at my party because I didn't invite Paul, little
Exactly.
Polly. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. It's nothing to do with little Polly. I love little Polly. The thing is that um, the kids aren't allowed.
The end.
End
No,
of
not open
story.
for discussion. Like, we're not
Yeah,
talking about this anymore. Don't call me and ask me. People call and ask.
yeah,
Well, I saw the invitation. You want me to say it verbally to you now?
yeah.
No.
Do you want me to draw it out for you?
Yeah. Do you want me to
A
do like,
house with Polly in another house? Okay, with a whole bunch of adults with a disco ball. Polly's not dancing on the
draw
dance floor. Hello. I'm annoyed.
stick figures inside with like, and then Polly's outside and it's snowing on him only.
Okay. I can't. It's like,
Holy
come
shit.
on, come to the party.
If I'm gonna have a party, you know where Roni is? He's at Wag Hotel. Okay. Like, I'm not
Yes.
gonna have him squeaking and barking, you know what I mean? Like, disrupting my guests. So I'm
Yes,
fine. I don't even bring
exactly.
him our
No.
friends, bring Roni, no, they're at home. They're fine. They're
Right?
fine.
Yes.
Give me a drink. Okay.
Yes, exactly. It's just, yeah. But
Oh my God.
this is the perfect example of the the difference in parenting. To
Yes.
me, there is no right or wrong because everybody does it their own way. And I'm not saying that like I said, I'm not saying my way is perfect. This is what works for me. But long story short, for me, what works is the fact that putting myself first, putting my husband first, because I know that if I and Tony are happy, then Presley's happy. And
Hmm.
it's not saying that he comes before her. I think a lot of people get that mixed up. Is
Right.
that if you bring up that question in a big group, they'll always say, "Oh, well, gosh, you're so selfish. How dare you say that you would bring, like, put your husband before your child? That's your child." Like, people get crazy. I'm not saying
Mm,
that. Your love for your child and your love for your husband are two different things. You can
exactly.
never compare those two because
No.
they are two different types of love. Okay. And Tony and I would go for to bat for Presley in
Of
a
course.
heartbeat. Okay. There is no way that we would ever say that he's better than her, vice versa. But
Mm.
my mom, nothing against my mom, but my mom repeatedly when I was younger would tell me in front of my dad, "You are my life. You are number one." La 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 la. And I'm like, and even me as a kid, I was like, huh? And when my dad told me that, what he said, okay, it didn't register at that time because I thought it was like, oh, how rude, right? Then
Yeah.
years down the road, I realized, oh my God, I know exactly what my dad was talking about.
Yeah.
Because things happen in relationships when you put a sole focus on this little human being, right? That other things start to get forgotten. And
Hmm. Of course.
those things are your husband, your wife, but also yourself. And, moms are wonderful people. They are freaking superheroes, okay? But moms are really good at mom shaming one another. And when
Oh.
they see other moms taking time for themselves, going on a retreat, going on, taking that yoga class, going exercising, going out with their girlfriends at night.
Going on a trip with your husband without the
Yes,
kid.
exactly. They will be the first ones to say, "Oh my God, where's your child?" I mean, have we ever not seen
Oh,
on, not that they are the epitome of mothers, but Kim Kardashian, Chloe, whoever, when they first have children and maybe they're at an award
yeah.
show or they go somewhere, in the comments, it never fails. You will always see nasty ass hookers saying,
Mm,
"Where's your child? Shouldn't you be with them? You just had a baby." La 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 la, like all this stuff. And it's just like,
mm.
who gives you the right to say anything about what she does?
Exactly.
Because,
Did you grow the kid?
yes, exactly. And it's just, it's okay to be selfish. It's okay to do things for yourself, make time for yourself. And it's more than okay to make
Yeah.
time for your significant other. Your children will thank you for it in the future. They really
So,
will.
and then also, would you say that it's not? So, if you decide, so let's say if Tina, if this resonates with Tina, for example, she's
Hmm.
like, oh shit, I have not been nurturing this relationship,
Hmm.
it's not going to be like an overnight thing. Like all
No.
of a sudden you're going to turn it, okay, honey, like let's make
Right.
efforts. It's going
Mhm.
to take time to sort of build this relationship back up, go
Mhm.
on dates, get to know one another again, because I imagine having a child changes you,
Of
especially
course.
for a woman. You're
Mhm.
the one that went through that experience of growing something inside of you. So I get again why mothers can be the way they are. I understand
Mhm.
and respect that. So like, if Tina, it's not going to be like an overnight thing. You really have to put efforts into
You
nurturing your
do.
relationship, not forgetting, your son. And no one's saying that you have to ignore your kid or anything, but go on a
No.
date every now and then, go by yourself to a coffee shop, read a book,
Mhm.
like if you're able to, if you have someone you trust, because I know some people don't have like childcare readily available. Maybe they don't have family where they live or whatever, and you don't trust a stranger to take
Right.
care of your kid. Okay, fine. Maybe do have a date after your child's asleep,
Mhm.
late night dates,
Yes.
like cute
Exactly.
little sexy time, like
Mhm.
I feel
Yes.
like it can be salvaged if you love each other.
It can be. It really can. And honestly, I don't know where society has made it. The media, television shows, movies have made it to where um I don't know, becoming a mom and then you get to a certain age where the husband still wants stuff, still wants to be intimate, still wants to have that sexy time, right? And
Exactly.
and the moms are like, ugh, it's such a chore, or they make jokes about it, or it's like this like disgusting thing,
Mhm.
you know? And I know that we as women change, we evolve, right? Okay, we go into like menopause and things may not be the same down south as it was 20 years ago. Okay,
Girl.
your needs, your wants, your, energy, okay? But your husband still has needs. Your husband
Yeah.
still chose you for a reason. And why should
Right.
you? A lot of women have that mentality. Oh, when my child turns 18, then he'll have me full time or whatever. And by that time, heck, things are
Mm.
going to be dead down there. You're going to have cobwebs and your husband's going to be with another person.
Exactly. Because, there's always some little trick in the corner ready to give attention when,
Hmm.
and again, I'm not trying to shame, people, and people don't deserve to
Right.
be cheated on, but it's only
No.
human nature. If
And
you're
it's
not
not an
getting it,
excuse.
it's
It's
not
not because you could
at
communicate
all.
that. But if you've been communicating that to your wife about how you feel or your
Yeah.
husband and how you feel and you ain't doing anything about it, then
Right.
who's to blame? Because
Exactly.
honestly, I mean, I'm not going to say anything, but I know someone, okay, very near and dear to me, okay, that had the situation where that person kept telling them, I'm not happy. Something's lacking. I
Okay.
just, you've changed. You're not the same person I fell in love with,
Hmm.
and what happened? They ended up cheating on them. And that person was like, well, what happened? And of course, they were livid, right?
Hmm.
But he said, because I told you I wanted to work on this, but you kept ignoring me and treating me
Hmm.
wrong. Like, I don't know. Sometimes women or men, I don't know, could be mean. And
Right.
there becomes like a little bit of hostility to where I don't know if it's like you fall out of love with the person that you're with or
Probably.
you irritate you. I don't know what it is, but that's not nice either. Treat your
No.
husband. Little things go a long way. Like how women say, oh, if they just take out the laundry or do this or
Oh
do that.
yeah.
Little things go a long way. Calling your husband handsome or, being like sweet with them, like being,
It just sets the tone. Like you look
yes,
pretty today. Like, oh my God, you're gonna get like
yes,
butterflies the whole time. No, totally. I
exactly. Those things go a long way.
also like, and if you don't know your partner's love language, I highly recommend the book, The Five Love
Hmm.
Languages. Gary
Yes.
Zukav, who writes? No, that's The Seed of the Soul.
Mhm.
But the Five Love Languages is something that I tried.
Mhm.
I Angel and I read at the beginning of
Gary
our
Chapman.
relation. Thank you.
Mhm.
And I think it's handy because now Angel learned what my love language is, like acts of service,
Yes.
and
Mhm.
she's like words of affirmation, so like that kind of like put the little seed in. And
Mhm.
she brings me my coffee every morning, or when she takes the trash out, or she
Yeah.
starts doing like household handyman things. It's
Mhm.
like the song Pony by Genuine comes on and I'm just fanning
Okay.
myself off like, wow, you're amazing. You know what I mean? It's like the little things.
Yes.
It's, if you want, it's the perfect example of if you wanted to, you would. So
Mhm.
by Tina reaching out and emailing
Oh,
this
yeah.
question, we know that you want to
Yes.
put effort and fix it. So
And don't
like,
give up, Tina. Don't.
don't give up, because it can be rectified, and no one's saying that you're going to be mom of the like bad mom of the year for tending to your marriage, tending to the garden that is your marriage. So don't let it
Yes.
slide. I mean, don't let it
Exactly.
slip away.
No, I agree. Tina made the first step. She realizes that there's something lacking in their relationship in order for her to bring this up, that there's
Yeah.
something that's amiss.
Yeah.
And hopefully we could, bring a little bit of enlightenment to her world where, little things, like I said, little things go a long way. And if your husband sees, Tina, that you're making an effort in whatever area it is, where you tell him he looks really handsome or, give him more hugs than normal or whatever,
Yeah.
that might really make him feel good. And it might
Totally.
be like, oh my gosh, and make him feel all warm and fuzzy. And the way he is with you might change a little bit. I mean, because believe me, your husband loves you for the type of mom you are. Like, there's
Mhm.
nothing more beautiful and sexy than seeing a mom or a dad in their role.
Of
But you also
course.
have to find a balance. And I think that a lot of
Yes.
us, um, lose that balance, and it's easy to balance both. We just have to find the right level of balance.
Definitely.
There's a lot of
Definitely.
balance right there.
No, but that's the key word, I think,
Mhm.
that you're trying to drive home. It
In
is a
all
balance.
aspects of your life, because even friendship,
Yeah.
making time for your friends too is good for your soul.
Hmm.
And because a lot of women too don't have friends, they lose their friends because they put so much energy in every other aspect.
Right. Oof. That's a topic for another day.
Yeah, right. Put a pin in that.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
But this was fun stuff.
It sure was. I really think that you gave Tina some really good tools to work with. And, if this resonated with anyone else out there, let us know. It definitely wow, it took me back. So thank you for that.
Oh,
And yeah, I always look forward to Fridays with Neen. And
thank
we
you.
hope you do too.
Yes, likewise. Yes, thank you so much for this. It was really kind of what's the word? We're
Therapeutic.
yes, yeah, very cathartic.
Yes, you love that word.
I do. It's one of my favorites. But if you don't know what it is, look it up.
Hey, word of the
But
day.
anyways, yeah, no, but it's been good. Thank you so much, Steph.
Thank you so much, Neen. And without anything else, without further ado, we'll catch you on the flip side.
Oh yeah, until next time. Peace out, buddy.